BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I'm Jackie, and this is a sort of August tentative TBR, at least the books I'm thinking about reading in August. I did try and include some of the books that I had on that, books I think that are great for summer, to read during the summertime, because, I have not read any of, I've read, like I said in previous videos, I'm not a seasonal reader. It was more like I thought that, that was just something fun and a video idea that I thought I might, books I think a lot of people might want to read during the summertime. So I did try to include some of the ones that weren't on those lists, at least the unread ones, obviously. So first, I'm going to just, again, update you a little bit more on the progress of Jane Austen July. I've already talked about reading Mansfield Park, which was a reread for me. And I actually did put Jane Austen's Juvenilia, including Love and Friendship, on my list of both on my Thrift Books wish list and my Amazon wish list. So that either way, I'll either would get one of the books for either for Christmas as a gift, or or I could get them at myself at one point. Especially, if I want to get like the cloth bound edition or something, then yeah, I would probably have better luck with Amazon than Thrift Books, because those special editions, certain editions like cloth bounds, they go quickly. They are I always see the message of temporarily unavailable, because a lot of people like those cloth bound, like collecting those cloth bound editions. So and I want to try to and I always try to get more than one of some of my favorite editions of classics. I have a lot of, Penguins, and I have a lot of and I have a handful of the Barnes & Noble. And then I have two cloth-bound books. One is The Odyssey, and one is Sense and Sensibility. I have some of the Russian, some of the vintage ones for some Russian classics. And then, of course, I got those ones I showed you in my last video, which was these other kinds of vintage editions that I think you can only get at Barnes & Noble or Amazon. So I try to get more than one of each of those. But then, of course, there are some, like the Penguin and Black Spines, or all the other different, Modern Library, and all the different publishing houses that are just easy to get, because you're gonna find them either way. You're gonna probably buy one of those books if you don't if you're not seeking, even if you're not seeking it out, you're probably there are some publishing companies that you're just gonna get, like the Penguin ones. Okay, so currently, like I said, and so I reread Mansfield Park, and then I finally finished Mystery of Udolpho. Like I said, I didn't absolutely love it. I didn't hate it. I'm glad I read it. I had a good time with it. It was fun, but it has been put in the donation pile, because it's not something I'll read again. I don't picture myself reading it again. Maybe one day that will change, and if that's the case, I can always rebuy it, or maybe get on an audiobook or something. But I would probably have to buy the audiobook, because it's a long book, so it would take me more than a week to read. So the next book I chose to focus on was this one, The Real Jane Austen, A Life in Small Things by Paula Byrne, which was Katie from Books and Things recommendation. She did a video where she recommended Jane Austen books that were about Jane Austen, and this was one of them. And I think she also has her own copy of this book. So this is I think is a really cool idea, because it's not a typical biography. It takes things that the family, that Jane Austen and her family owned, like, like a scarf from India, or like one of the carriages, like one that was, I don't know how to, a barouche, I don't know how to, but it's kind of the equivalent of a sports car, I think that's what the author said. And, or like, pictures of the like those silhouette pictures they have, and just talking about them and relating them to things about Jane Austen, like how it relates to her life and what it represents in her life. So I think it's a very unique way to do kind of a talk about her life and who she was as a person, because the things we own, our material items, tell a story. They tell who we are as people. Like 100 years from now, people will be looking at cell phones or like DVDs or computers, or like looking at cars, just looking at these material items, and it will tell a story of what was important to us, what we used, how it reflected who we are as people, as a human race. So I think that was a very clever idea of her to do that. So I am on chapter Ivory Miniatures, which I know in Mysteries of Udolpho, that's mentioned quite a bit, because a lot of characters, like this guy that has a crush on I already forgot the main character's, Emily, he's like a neighbor, and he steals her miniature, which is like a tiny portrait, like a little bit bigger than the ones that you find in lockets, I think. Kind of like this picture is like when someone goes to, when the men would go to war in the 40s, and the guy would have a picture of his girlfriend or his wife, the little tiny squares. Or kind of, actually a more recent example is like the school pictures. When you go to, you have the different sizes you can choose from, and the ones you want to buy, and you have those little mini ones that can go in your wallet. So it's like I think miniatures are probably like those. So I'm guessing I'm on the chapter about the miniatures, the miniature pictures. And I remember in like I said, in Mysteries of Udolpho, like Emily's miniature portrait gets stolen by this guy who had a crush on her. And one of the, another character has her miniature picture stolen from her. So miniatures are mentioned a lot in Mysteries of Udolpho. Which I guess it's a way to remember someone, like if they're gone, you have this little picture of them. But yeah, so far it's really interesting, interesting. Like I said, it's a unique look on, exploring who Jane Austen was through the things that she owned, because of course our things represent who we are, in their own way. So yeah, so I'm reading that, and now I'm hoping to get to these two books. So we have Charlotte, which is a story about the character Charlotte from Pride and Prejudice, who married the woman who married Mr. Collins, and their 7-year marriage. Well, I mean, I don't know if it lasts 7 years or it lasts longer than that, but then according to the description of the plot, they have a child that they lose, and it's them coping with it. And I think Charlotte meets a man when she's visiting the Darcys, and sees the passion she missed out on when she chose to marry Mr. Collins for practical, sensible reasons, because it was the best option for her. So I want to read this one, and then hopefully I would love to get to Heartstone, which is a fantasy version retelling of Pride and Prejudice, but with dragons, where the characters, not like Tooth and Claw, where the characters are dragons, but they are dragon riders. It is a trilogy, so I don't know if they're going to drag out the romance. Like, maybe it won't end with them getting together. Maybe, so, like, maybe there will be a lot of stuff going on between. And, because it is a trilogy. Now, I don't have book 2. Like, again, I think I already told you guys this, that I accidentally bought book 3 because I got a notice, an email from Thrift Books that said that they have, that the price of book 3 went down, but I forgot to check and see and remind myself that it was book 3 and not book 2. So I bought that one, and then I remembered after I made the purchase that is book 3. But I was trying to wait until August before I make another online purchase. So, yeah, so that's one of the books I'm going to definitely order off of Thrift Books in August. Which I might still, like, the last couple times I've done it, like, as soon as it turns to August, I'm like, as soon as it turns to the next month where I'm allowing myself to buy something, like, ooh, okay, first week, I'm like, at midnight on the first day of the new month, I'm like, can I, ask if my mom's okay with me buying stuff online, buying books? And I'm gonna try to wait a few days at least, because she kind of said this, rolls her eyes of like, okay, clearly you can't wait. Because it was more, she's just trying to teach me and help me to understand. But yeah, so I want to get to this one. But I don't know if I will, because I don't know, I don't know what's going to happen. If I don't get to it before the end of the month, then maybe I'll start it on the last day of July and then just read it into August, because I do want to get to it. So yeah, these are my main focus right now. I'm going to try to get this done in the next couple days. I mean, I'm glad I have 2 days off before, 2 days off, and then I'll work one day, and then we're going to we have something coming up. So I'm trying to get this done within the 2 days. The real Jane Austen done in the next 2 days. So I think this one that I got from Black Castle Books, I will probably save for next year, along with, I think there's another, Miss Austen, which my sister got for me for my birthday this year. I think it was her. Yeah, she's the one that got it for me, because it came in the mail, but I didn't order it, so these 2 might be for next year, which I don't know what I'm going to read next year for the actual original novels. Like I said, I'm hoping to order her Juvenilia soon, so I might read those, and I'm hoping that maybe one of those will have Lady Susan in it. Maybe the Love and Friendship one may have Lady Susan in there. So, which will be a little bit easier to read than that big one, that leather-bound edition with all of her work in it. Like, I just want to get one with, like, 2 of her. So yeah, those I'll read next year, for next July. Okay, so now let's get to the tentative TBR, all the books I'm thinking about reading. Well, first, I did start reading, these are the books I did start reading. I did need to pick up Brothers Karamazov because, as you guys know, I recently bought Demons by Dostoevsky, and so I wanted to get this done first before I get into any other Dostoevsky books. I want to finish this one. Problem is, I am on a chapter that's a bit tedious, because it's like Ivan, the intellectual brother, is philosophizing and discussing how he doesn't believe in God, like his brother Alyosha, who is a monk, And so he's talking about God and how does God, like I think what he's saying is he believes that because there's so much evil in the world, how can God exist? I think that's what he's asking. So he's sharing all these different examples of the bad things that happen in the world and questioning, explaining how would you respond to this, or saying, oh, you can't argue this, or like people are allowed to get away doing this. And there's this, at one point he's talking about children, how we all love children, but there are people who will do bad stuff to children and get away with it for one reason or another, and the wrong people will get blamed for it. And there's some disturbing examples he gives. It's long. It's a long chapter, and depending on when I'm reading it, it's kind of hard for me to, it can be hard for me to concentrate. Like, it's hard for me to read during my 15-minute break. So I need to get this section done, maybe ideally tonight, get that chapter done. I mean, there'll probably be other chapters, but just getting past that chapter right now is good enough for me, is what I want to do. It's an interesting thoughts, though, and it does make you question your own beliefs a little bit. It makes you wonder about your own and how you justify your own beliefs. Like, I definitely believe in God and all that stuff. So, it is fascinating as someone to read about people that are, don't believe, that are atheist and question God, are more, more academically minded, and just, it's a very interesting argument, as long as, they make a good argument. Like, I don't like it when people make an argument of why they say, I don't believe this, and they're just like, well, because of this, and, like, I prefer an actual debate in discussing it. I mean, it still kind of makes me a little nervous, especially when I don't know the person that well, and I don't know how they would respond. And also, I rather do it face to face. But anyway, this definitely, it's interesting. It's just a long chapter and just a lot of stuff, a lot of philosophizing from Ivan. I'm almost done with the chapter. I just want to get through that chapter. So, I also did start reading A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man. This also has Dubliners in it, because I think this would be easier to read than Ulysses. And right away I do, and we have our main character, who actually, I did not realize this, but I think it's the same character as the one in Ulysses, Stephen Dedalus, and it's about him growing up. Like, that one he's a full-grown man, an adult, but this one, it starts out with him growing up and going to school, and he gets, and of course he has all the elements going to school, like bullying and, stern teachers and all the, rules and all the things, like, things that he and his playmates used to do in his relationship with his parents. So yeah, I did not realize it's like that this was about the same character, but growing up. So that's kind of interesting. Which I'm wondering if the character is supposed to be kind of inspired by James Joyce himself. Like, maybe he's putting a little bit of himself in these books, in his work. Like, it's a story but fictionalized, kind of like how David Copperfield is kind of the closest to a autobiography to Dickens himself, his own life. I wonder if Jane Austen had lived long enough, I wonder if she would have done that too. So I'm currently reading those as well. I don't know if I'll get to this one or I'll put it back on the shelf for a while. But I might get to that one soon. Okay, so some of the other books I'm thinking about. Okay, this was one of the books that I said was a great summer read, and that is Bag of Bones, because it takes place at a lake house. And if you guys don't remember saying this, I did start this last October, but I put it down, like, I got up to chapter 8, So I was thinking about picking this up in August. And again, you have Stephen King taking a long time before he gets to the actual creepy stuff. All the scary stuff. So he takes a while to do the setup, and so you're introduced to Mike Noonan, our main character, and we talk about how his wife died and what happened to her, how she died, and him dealing with it, struggling, and how everyone's trying to get him to move on with his life and date other people, but he's not ready. He doesn't want to, and just his struggles. And he talked about the lake house that they had called Sarah Laughs, and how they were unable to, how he couldn't bring himself to go, but then he finally has, and he meets this little girl who's walking down the road by herself, wanting to go to the pool or the beach, I cannot remember, I think, or the lake, and he finds her and tries to help her out, and then her mom comes up just when he finds her. So yeah, I mean, if you have not read Stephen King, just let you know, his beginnings do, unless it's one of his short stories, the beginnings do take a long time to get to, But yeah, I figured, get to this now. Along with this one, The Burning God, which is the last book in the Poppy War trilogy. I read the second book last July, so it was like, the time before this month started, I was like, oh, I should read this in July, but then Jane Austen July and Mysteries of Udolph took such a long time to read, so I was like, and I didn't get a lot of read done when we were busy, my sister, so, I did attempt to start this. I read, like, the prologue and started chapter 1, so, like, I got as far as page 16, and I haven't picked it up since. The problem is it's been so long, so I was like, I'm not as motivated to read this. I do want to read it still. I'm just not excited to read it because it's not new and shiny. It's like not something new for me to explore. It's one that, it's an older, it's one I've had for a long time. But I do want to finish it. I like how each book is a different color. Oh, and this includes a bonus story, I guess. The Drowning Faith. I did not know that. So, yeah, so I need to finish this. So I probably will start this soon as well. The prologue was very intriguing. The prologue definitely got my attention. That was interesting. But anyway, so this is definitely one that this is more of a chance of getting picked up than the others. Than some of the others. So these two, there's a better chance of these two getting picked up and read soon in August. So this here we have, okay, so this was the sci-fi book that I got when we went to that author event back in May, at the end of May, The Ultimate Thru Hike by Christopher Cancela. I don't know if you remember what I said about this book, but like it combines being in outer space and hiking on another planet. And it's interesting because he also includes, in the beginning of the book, he includes like information that you might need for if you want to go hiking, because that was like his passion. And so it includes like all the things you need and what you should know about hiking and all that. So I thought that was really cool. But it's definitely the one that sounded most intriguing out of all his books. And I didn't want my books that I bought at that time to sit there on my shelf for a long time. So I was like, so I made sure I picked up least 2 of them. Sophie's Pack, and the other one was Ashes Ashes. So I picked up those. I got those right and wrote reviews on Goodreads for those. So, and I did put them on my I have a blog that I'm not that active on. So, but I started becoming a little more active recently. So I upload those. So I want to make sure I get through those. And then the other book I bought was Enemy Like Me. But my dad has that one at the moment because he read the author's other book, the one that he bought. So I don't want this to fall behind. I don't want to fall behind with this. I want to, I want to read it sooner rather than later, before it ends up sitting on my shelf for years. Especially because I met the guy and he was nice and he signed my book for me. So, and he even lowered the price for me, I think. Yeah, so I need to, so like I said, I want to get to this before before it gets too late. So I'm going to read this as well. Okay. I almost wish I got a latte because I went out to lunch. I went to Betsy's Grapes for lunch, and I decided not to get a coffee because I was already a little jittery from my coffee this morning that I took, that I was drinking throughout the whole morning. And I was a little wiry and jittery. So I decided when, my dad said water, I'll get water too. But now I kind of wish I had gotten a latte. Not that I don't even know if that would really do a lot for me, because I don't know if it does, how strong the caffeine is in that. But I am just, the tiredness just it's hitting me right now. But I think that's just what happens also when, if you don't, combine the heat with probably not getting the full 8 hours or however many hours you need. I think it just makes me, even if I have a little bit of energy first thing, I think it just zaps my energy after being on the heat. But, anyway, so yeah, this is another one that I feel like I should prioritize. And then here's another one that I feel like I should prioritize, which is Noli Me Tangere. For, I got other Filipino books, and I do have its sequel, both, again, on my Amazon wishlist and on my Thrift Books wishlist. So I feel like I need to get to this, because, it's not even that long. And I was so excited at the time. I meant to read it in May, but I totally forgot. Totally slipped my mind. But yeah, I need to read this soon. And every time I'm reminded of when booktubers talk about reading more diversely, I'm I always feel guilty because I'm I should have read this book about set in the Philippines. It's a Filipino classic. So this is another one I feel like I need to pick up soon as well. It's about the history of the Philippines. And a very a time period in history that's very very turbulent time in history for the Philippines. But the author is a national hero in the Philippines. It's a political novel. So I feel like I should consider getting to this as well. Okay, so this was one that was a recent consideration because Shelley Swearigan, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but she was going over all the classics that she owns and the ones that her husband owns, and she brought up this one, Ovid's Metamorphosis, and I just realized And it made me feel like I want to pick this up like right now and read it now. With the way she talked about it and stuff. And this is just about transformations. Ooh, the writing is, ooh, I appreciate that. Look, the writing is kind of big. I like that. I like how it's big. It's a little bit big. So, I feel like I need to, now I want to pick this up. Even though, I have not read, I haven't finished Divine Comedy or Paradise Lost. Now I want to pick up this one. There are so many classics, ancient classics that I need to finish or at least attempt to pick up. Which I think I should do that. I should consider doing a whole month of that. Picking up ancient classics. But yeah, so yeah, I'm like, I want to read it, I want to pick it up right now, and so I'm thinking about it at the moment. So let's see. Okay, so this is so I have a series of fantasy books where I read the previous book, and then I decided that I want to read the next book, the one that comes after the previous book. I'm going to read those in the same order. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Well, okay, so earlier this year I read Ruin of Kings. So, and then after that, I think I read, there's Words of Radiance, and then, The Shadow of What Was Lost. So, what I like to do is, I would like to read first the sequel to Ruin of Kings, which is The Name of All Things, and then after that, maybe read Words of Radiance, and then after that, read The Echo of Things to Come. Oh, and I also have to read, The Shadow Rising, and finish my reread of Clash of Kings. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I want to read, because I read Ruin of Kings, for the first book of these epic fantasies or high fantasies. I want to read the sequel to that one first, and then read the other one, and then the other one. So, our main character in the first one is in a new situation right now, and he's teamed up with someone new. And so I am excited to read this, because I remember absolutely loving the first book. So I want to, I'm going to jump into reading book 2 soon. So I feel like I need to get to this one, soon. I'm sorry, I'm just so tired. This is, I want to film these videos, but I often film them when I'm tired. The later in the afternoon gets, the more tired I get. But yeah, I want to finish, so I want to read this since I read, as well. And this is also one of my thrift, I think this is a thrift books purchase. So I took off the little thrift books thing, sticker. Which, yeah, I need to go through all those thrift books and read those books that I order off the thrift books. Go through them and read the ones I haven't read. So there's that one. I want to read that one as well. And then we have another series that I need to read, the next one. I reread the first 3 books because I had already read the first 3 books years ago. And I decided to reread because it had been so long. And so then reread those and then get to the 4th book, which I hadn't read. And that is the Dark Tower series, the 4th book being Wizard in Glass. So yes, again, another situation where I want to get to this sooner rather than later. I don't want it to be sitting on my shelf forever. So I want to get to this one at least by the end of the year. because it took me a long time before I finally got to the Wastelands. Because it was like 2 years in between my reading of the first 2 books, The Gunslinger and The Drawing of Three. So I don't want to make the same mistake twice. So I want to pick up this one by the end of the year. So either way, I do want to get to this one. Okay. So this is probably more of an autumn or winter read. But I wanted to go ahead and pick this up again, which is the Witching Hour, the first book in the Mayfair Witches series by Anne Rice. Fortunately, I never did watch the show. I meant to watch the show, start watching it, but then it slipped my mind. I mean, I even lost interest in the vampire, in Interview with the Vampire TV series. Not that it was bad or anything. I mean, in fact, a lot of people, Terry included, I think it's a lot more accurate to the books than the movie. But you have your diehard fans of the original Tom Cruise Brad Pitt movie. But some people think the show is a lot more accurate. And it's really benefiting the original books. So I wanted to. But when I decided again to get back to Anne Rice and try reading her books again, I didn't want to read the vampire books. So I got into this one, and I picked up this. I rebought it off of this is another thrift books purchase, and I also got book 2. I keep looking for that, the third book, which the third book is there at Black Castle, but it's a hardback. And I want to stick to I want to keep them all paperback. So I think I'll stick to getting these off of, but actually let me clarify. I have seen all 3 of them. I have seen the hardback version and I've seen the mass market version. But I want to get this version, so I'm sticking to thrift books and just making sure I buy so that one, and then Dragon's Shadow. I think that's what it's called. And those should be my next purchases of thrift books. But yeah, I did start this already at the end of last October actually. So I want to start this again in September. Which I'm already thinking about themes, which the problem is I'm not good with themes. I think about them, but then I'm like, I change my mind, and the books I pick have nothing to do with the themes. But, yeah, so I feel like I can go ahead and start this, because it's a long book anyway, so start reading some of this now. And then we have these. So these, so we have, I wanted to go ahead and read the next book for this series. The Saxon series by Bernard Cornwell. So we got The Pale Horseman is book 2. I believe there's 13 books. And I was reminded because Jennifer Brooks did a video, I'm watching her video. I have it on pause right now actually while I'm filming, but I was watching her video and she did mention the series. And thankfully she mentioned the main character, and because I could not figure out how to pronounce his name. There's a billion other characters that I just do not know how to pronounce their names. And also, Alan from the Libraries Alexandria. I don't think he read the series, but he read other books from Bernard Cornwell. So, and I believe he really likes him and thinks says he does really good battle scenes. So far, in the first book, it was pretty good. He did a pretty good job. So, yeah, so I don't want this to be another series that sits on my shelf and I don't go beyond the first book. So, I'm thinking about reading this soon, maybe in August. Now, like I said, not all these will be read in August. Some of them will be, some of them won't be. But then we have, so this is one of the Books Million editions. We have these collector books. They have a lot of like Irish and Celtic myths, Indian, Native American myths, probably Greek and Roman. Well, this is Norse myths and tales. So I figured, it's either this one. I mean, no, I left the other one, the Prose Edda. I left it on the shelf. But I figured, pick up some of these and read some of these. I wish I could hear the names, because I don't know the names. But yeah, I figured so I won't finish it, but I figure I want to read some of them at least. And read some of these now in September. But and in August, get started on some of these. Because like I said, I don't think I'll finish them, but just it'd be kind of interesting to read at least some. Start reading some of these and then come back to it later. So there is that. Okay. And then we have Sophocles' plays. So we have Oedipus the King, Oedipus at Colonus, and Antigone. And this is their plays. So I figured it would be an easy, quick read. And it'll be kind of nice to read some of these and, be familiar with the content. Now, I think one of these, when I took a theater class in college, I think one of these, maybe Antigone, was either another group was performing it or we did. But actually, I think one of these was a play that in season 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, in one of the ending episodes, the last puppet show, I think it's called, they are forced to participate because their old principal got eaten by hyena people, and so they end up they get a new principal, Mr. I can't think of his name, Mr. I don't remember his name, but anyway, and he catches them, he forces them to be part of the school talent show, and they end up doing a play. I don't know which play they do, but I remember we got to see their little performance on the end credits of that episode, and it's really hilarious because first of all, clearly Buffy doesn't want to do this. So she's not putting in any effort at all. She's just reciting the lines, the dialogue. And then you have, Xander is also trying to do it, but he's kind of, very stiff and kind of, frozen. I mean, he's still able to do the lines, but he's just kind of going through the motions while staring at the audience, And then you have Willow, who just completely freaks out and runs off the stage right when she's supposed to say her line. It's a really, it's a funny moment. So I don't know which one of these they did though, but it's really, it's funny. But it was a really great little scene. So, but yeah, I figured because they're plays, this could be another one of those ones that I could get done each one quickly. So there is that. So I'm thinking about this one. So this one has a pretty good chance of being picked up in August. Okay, so this is a classic, and apparently this is also a Pulitzer Prize winner, because I think Greg from Supposedly Fun he read it for his Pulitzer Prize project where he read all the books that won the Pulitzer Prize. And there's apparently a little bit of a controversy on this. Controversy on this one because another author from years ago was writing about a similar kind of thing. And her, I think it was her agent, her agent knew Steinbeck and gave him the notes that the other woman wrote for her book. And he, so he used them for his novel, but it is apparently a completely different story. Because I don't know I have not read this woman's book, and I know very little about this. The famous line of "I'll be there," blah blah blah, and I know it takes place during the Great Depression and all that, and they're traveling, the Joad family, and they're traveling and I think it's a completely different story from the book that other woman wrote. But I think also you should check out Supposedly Fun's video. Greg from Supposedly Fun's video where he talks about that. So you can get a little bit more information about that if you are interested, though, and you want to know more about that. Because even I don't know all about it. I'm just remember he's brought it up more than once, which I need to watch his video about, that's specifically about that. But yeah, for some reason I feel like this is a good summer. Again, this is one of the books that is on that video of unread books that I think are great for summer because of the setting, and because the characters are traveling together on the road, and it's hot weather, so I feel like those kinds of books are great for summer. But yeah, I figured I want to pick this one up for the summer soon. And it's not as long as it used to be, and so hopefully it won't take as much time. Once I'm done with this, what I need to do is go through these books and see which ones actually I want to focus on. But that's going to be kind of hard because I can't make a decision. And I want to read all of them at some point. Okay, so another book that is The Buccaneers, this is another situation where the author did not live in time to finish it, but someone took over and finished it for her. This is Edith Wharton's The Buccaneers. And I believe it's about these women who decide to go find husbands, I think, in these... Yeah, okay, so yes, wealthy American women decide to go find husbands in England. So they travel across the ocean to find husbands. Again, traveling and they're on the water. I don't know, it just feels like a very southern... And when I think Buccaneers, I think of pirates, or seafaring adventurers and sailors. So this, I think southern read, even though I mean summer read, not southern summer read for this one. And so, like I said, I need to go through these and see which ones I really just genuinely want to read. Okay, so then we have, this is one I had picked up at the end of June going into July, but then I put it down, and it is Damascus Gate. And I feel like historical thrillers, or thrillers about history thrillers, those feel like summer reads too, because often they're very fast-paced, and they're adventures, and like I said in that video, one of my criteria for summer reads is adventures, stories that are like characters going on, on these quests, or, not all quest books, but some of them. I feel like, like Lord of the Rings, I feel like is kind of is more of a wintry read, and it is a quest story, or the same thing with, you know, the Wheel of Time series. I feel like that's more of a wintry read, but I do feel like it could be, you know, so not every quest adventure story to me is a summer read, but you know, ones where they're exploring history, or like something, you know, that Dan Brown would write. I feel like that's a summer read, and this feels like that. It takes place in modern day Jerusalem. I think it's modern day Jerusalem, and you have a journalist. He's looking into religious fanatics. And sorry, I'm looking at the back. And he sees this, you know, this confrontation, this violent confrontation happen, and he gets kind of caught up in something. Okay, so this one I'm kind of really leaning towards picking up soon as well. Like, of course, I could say that about all these books. So, again, I need to just look through them and look generally which ones. I mean, I can always ask my dad. But the thing is, I'm always apprehensive to ask someone because I'm like, what if when they tell me, they're like, well, actually, I'm gonna read this one. Which, yeah, some people would probably say, well, then that at least you're still making a decision, even if you don't agree with my decision, you're still deciding. But yeah, so there's that one as well. Okay. And then we have, okay. So when we went to my sister's, this was one of the ones that I was considering bringing with me. A Fine Balance, which was an Oprah book club pick. Which at least it's not a sticker, and it's not covering anything, which is nice, which is good. And it's been like, it's a group of people that have to hide out in this apartment. There's a group of people in India that have to hide out in this apartment. They don't know anything about each other. Let me see. Let me see. It's in the 70s. Okay, so the government declared the state of emergency. Okay, so because of a state of emergency, they are forced to share this one cramped apartment. Which I feel like I should pick this up now. And the characterization has been compared to Dickens. The storytelling and the characterization has been compared to Dickens. That's kind of what got my interest with this book. And then I realized it's not the same time period as Dickens. It's not historical. It's actually, well, it is historical because it's, for me, it is historical because it is in the 70s. And to me, that's history. But yeah, this is another one that I feel like I should consider picking up sooner rather than later. But I could say that about all these books. I'm not as good at doing, picking and choosing as like, I just recently watched her video, the literary science something. She did a video where she did kind of a check-in of her reading and her goals video and going through all of her books and trying to have my mom paint my nails yellow for the summer. Because I can't paint my own nails. I'm really bad. I've tried it once. I'm just really bad. I like to try it again, but I have to be really careful because there are stuff that she uses that could ruin the furniture if I'm not careful. So it's better for me to do it while she's around. But anyway, sorry, I got off time because I got distracted by looking at them. But yeah, so this is another one I feel like I should pick up soon. And I don't want to be in another situation where I'm like, oh, I want to pick this up, and then at the last minute I'm like, well, it's not a fantasy book. Or it's not, I'm not in the mood because it's, for one reason or another. Okay, then we have, okay, so this is one of the early nonfiction books. I mean, I do feel like I should probably consider doing the Walt Disney one first, because that was the first one that I ever received as a gift from that first year we moved here. But I still haven't picked it up, and I just want to get through one and so at the moment I'm kind of more interested because I just bought the John Adams by David McCullough, because I think it was last year, or it was either last year or the year before, I listened to the audiobook of Ron Chernow's Hamilton biography. And then of course I love the musical. It's on Disney Plus, so I can watch it, and because I have not seen it performed live yet. And I know in that one it does talk about John Adams, but I have been meaning to read this biography for years, and I remember borrowing my brother-in-law's hardback copy, and then finally deciding to give it back to him because I was not in the mood to read it. So I didn't want to keep it forever. Like, I've kept this one DVD series that my aunt lent to me, and she just didn't even know she probably doesn't even remember I still have it. So I didn't want the John Adams book to be like that situation where I still have not watched it. So like, I gave it back to him when I was like, I want to buy my own copy, and eventually I got one. I finally saw one in the vault at the Roast Office, which is where they have the nonfiction and history books and all that. So I bought this because I've been wanting to read this. Like, I have been intrigued by John Adams ever since I got the soundtrack and saw the movie version of 1776, the musical, which I don't know if that's inspired by McCullough's book 1776, but ever since seeing that musical and just, kind of developing a little bit of crush on John Adams, I've been like, I want to read about him and learn more because he's so intriguing to me. And there was a project in a middle school class, one of my middle school, where we picked us to be fictional characters, and we had like a little setup, and I don't think I did a really good job. I just read my little note cards, but I was Abigail Adams for that little project. So, I mean, I really wish I could go back and do that again, because I felt like I just got through it. I just did it. I didn't really get into it, because like, if it was my dad doing something like that, he would ham it up and have fun with it, I feel like. But now that I'm older, I think that would just kind of fun, I mean, I still would probably not ham it up, but like he would. So I've been wanting to read this, and I've read some of it. Like, I did read a little bit of my brother-in-law's copy. So, and what I remember is that John Adams was not a very loving father. He was not an affectionate father. He did love his family, especially his wife. They would exchange these beautiful letters, which I have a Penguin Classics collection of all their letters to each other. And he really respected his wife and trusted her judgment, and would talk about he was doing in Philadelphia, what was going on. He wouldn't just be like, oh honey, you don't have to worry about that. I'm not going to tell you, because your little brain does not need to think about that kind of stuff, because, oh, you're a woman, you're not smart enough to think about that stuff. Although I think, and I remember that he was just not as charismatic or as charming or as good with people as like Ben Franklin or, Hamilton, as we learned from the Ron Chernow biography, or like even Jefferson was more like charming, and he was a poet. He was, while John Adams was not. He was just, and according to Ron Chernow, the Hamilton biography, he was not good at being the president. His insecurities got in the way. So I want to read this so I can come back and can get back to reading this and get some more information. So obviously I'll start from the beginning, and get to know. I am sorry. I'm doing that. I noticed. I think I'm doing the thing that my dad critiqued, which is like I keep moving the book so you guys cannot see it. But I can't hold it still like this. So I apologize for all the years of videos where I do that. I'm really sorry. I try to, for especially when I'm doing a review, but I really just can't do it, especially when I'm tired and I'm just rambling like I am right now. So there's that. Okay, so then I finally found a book. I finally found a book by this author. It was an author recommended by Emma from Bookish Princess. She loves this author, and I finally spotted one of her books at Black Castle. It's the only one. I haven't seen it anymore by this author. And every time I go, like, on thrift books or something, it's, they run out of it. I have put on Amazon wishlist as well, I think. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I did go through, and I don't remember if I saw any of this author's work, but Elizabeth Goudge, and this is Child from the Sea. She is I believe, a Christian author, Christian and historical fiction author, and this is so this is about Lucy Walter, the secret wife of Charles II. I did think about bringing this one with me also when we went to visit my sister, but it's a hardback book, so it's heavy. So if I brought more books, then it would, it wouldn't be good for my back. So, I thought about this, but then I also realized I just was not in the mood for this. And plus, I didn't get like I said, I only got to, like, Mysteries of Udolpha and the first chapter of, of The Age of Napoleon. Which I really should have considered the John Adams biography instead of that one. But yeah, so I want to pick up this book. This is not necessarily, might not necessarily be a top priority for this year, but soon. Because I feel maybe I'll save it for winter time. Even though it says Child from the Sea, I might save it for winter time. Okay, so there's that. Okay, I gotta get up. Okay, so I did think about doing during the summer, I have always thought about, I would love to do this theme, a dragon theme. So we have, and I do have another dragon book. It's part of one of Robin Hobb's series. So I thought about that one as well. But it's, I feel like I gotta read some of her other books first. They recommend you read her books in a certain order. But I thought between a dragon theme either during the summer or another time during the year. So we have Priory of the Orange Tree I need to get to, and her other book, Day of Fallen Night, just came out, which is a prequel to this one. I did decide I'm going to read this one first at some point this year. And then I have these other two dragon books. A Natural History of Dragons, a memoir by Lady Trent by Marie Brennan. And I originally got this from the library, but at the time I was not feeling it, and I was into other books. So finally bought my own copy because I always hear about how great this series is. I'm going to try it again when I'm not feeling rushed to read it because it's a library book and I'm going to have to return it. So I'm going to give this another shot, and I will probably like it better once the pressure's taken off of knowing that, okay, I have to finish this so I can return it at some point. But this, in case you don't know, it's a series about this woman, this female scientist, and she studies dragons. So it's historical, but it's with the idea of if dragons are real. It's kind of like the Temeraire series in this, with the whole idea of, where it's historical, but it's the idea of this magical creature if it really existed and how people would handle it. In this case, she is studying them, like as if they're, like reptiles or like lizards or something. And so and this really is not that long. I mean, compared to Priory of Thorn Street, it's not that long, obviously. And then I recently, earlier this year in like June, I had picked up this one, To Shape a Dragon's Breath. And it is the first book in a series. Like, forgive me, I cannot say that word. And the author, I want to say, is Native American because their last name is Black Goose. And he thinks that would be a Native American last name. Samonquil Black Goose. Again, forgive me if I don't know the pronunciation. In this one, I thought I'd be getting too soon, also because first of all, the idea when I read the back of this one looks so exciting, and it's also fantasy. And it sounds like it's similar to what Fourth Wing did, or at least it has the whole Dragon Academy going on. And it's also, like I said, it's Native American, I think, so, and I feel like I don't read a lot of books that's inspired by Native American mythology. I'm only guessing going by the author's name. I could be completely wrong. But yeah, so at some point, I don't know if it will be in August or September or later than that, but I want to do a dragon theme. Which actually my dad was just telling me because we haven't coordinated our flights to London yet. So my dad was saying, well, we might not go until October because he was hoping for September, but he still didn't give me dates. And then we got to coordinate with my mom's work schedule because she still works. So I might have to worry about September and can read what I want. Not that I couldn't read what I want even if we were going, but you know, I was going to try to stick to bringing only one book with me on that trip because I'm probably going to buy books when I go. So I didn't want to bring like too many books. I didn't want to bring any books with me, or at least just only bring like maybe one. Possibly I might be able to get away with two. So like I was just trying to be, you know, just stick with one or two books. So it's like I want to pick a good long chunkster of a book, nothing short, to read when we go there. So it will take me the whole trip to read it. So I was very much, you know, nervous with thinking about what I wanted to read when September comes around. So we might not be going in September. So we might not be going until October, which will take off some of the anxious feeling I'm having because, like I said, he still hasn't been able to give me dates of when we're going to go. So I can take off work, and then, you know, so I'm very anxious about that. But going to October might be better because at least it will give me 2 more months before I go. Although I feel bad because I've told people, oh, we're going in September, and then we're not going. We might not go in September. So not that people are going to be like, oh, you lied. You said you'd be leaving September, and not that they care. You know, it's just, you know, it's one of these things where you feel like, oh, I told people this, and then it's not going to happen, and then they might not believe me next time. I mean, even though it's not that kind of situation, it's still, in the back of my head, it still feels kind of like that, if that makes any sense. Okay, so I got a few more books I'm considering. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more books to show you, but they are all the way over there, so I gotta get up. Sorry. I did not plan this, which I never do. Okay, so let's see. Okay, next is, I did grab this one because I, you know, always think, you know, last I read the first two books during the summertime, so I figured I would want to, it's the same situation as with where I read the Dragon Republic, the sequel to Poppy War in July, so it's like, oh, I should read the next book around the same time frame, the third book. So it's kind of a similar situation where I read the previous books around the same time, around this time of year. So I figured, oh, I should read the next one this time of year. And that is Children of Dune, the third book in the Dune series, by Frank Herbert. And this is Paul's children. It's their story. And also the Dune, the part 2 to the movie is coming out, which I hope that one does really well. It means I would love to see the rest of the books. Even though I've only read Dune and Dune Messiah. I haven't read this one yet, obviously. But I like Dune Messiah too, and I would love to see that one turn into a movie as well. Although that one could considerably shorten because that book's not as long. But anyway, so I want to read that one, and then so I figure, get to Children of Dune this summer, just like I read the first 2 books during the summer. And then this next one is more of a last minute consideration because I just read the first book in June, at the end of June, so I figure, let me get to this sooner rather than later. And that is The Sapphire Altar by David Dalgleish. This is the second book to the Bladed Faith. And I really enjoyed The Bladed Faith. It was my favorite book of one of my favorite books of the month. So I wanted to get to the second book sooner rather than later. Now, I don't know when the third book is coming out, which I hope it will just come out in paperback so I don't have to wait a year for the hardback to come out. But I don't know how many years in between the first and this one. But I don't think I ever saw a hardback of these books. So hopefully that means there will be it will just come out, the third book will just come out in paperback. But yeah, the first book was one of my favorites, so I'm eager to get to the second book. And like I said, I don't want it to be a situation where I'm saying, oh, I'm eager, and then next thing I know, it's a year later and I still haven't picked it up. So I'm gonna get to this one. Sorry about the light. So this is probably one that I would consider a priority, even if I don't read in August, September, maybe. Okay, I got 3 more books, but they're all the way over there. Okay, I'm gonna have... Okay, so these last 3 were also add-ons when I was grabbing the books to show you guys in the video. So first we have Suetonius is The Lives of the Caesars, which apparently it's a new translation by Catherine Edwards. And I've heard a lot of this is very gossipy. That's why people like reading these ones. And I figured this would probably be a little bit easier to start with before I get back to the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. That big book. That's not even the whole thing. It's just it's an abridged version of the book. Of all the books. Because it's more than one. But this is just, obviously, as the title implies, this is about the Caesars. And I think Julius Caesar is in this. It's 12 Caesars. Nero, Caligula, Julius Caesar, obviously. Augustus, Bernice, Titius, and I don't know if this mentions the one before Hadrian, or Hadrian is before these guys. But yeah, I mean, it's small. Like I said, it's gossipy, and I think it'd probably be a better place to start than going back to the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. Like I said, it's described as gossipy, which should be fun and very entertaining. And then we have, this is one of the books I got at the roast office in the vault. This is the Rubicon, the triumph and tragedy of the Roman Republic. And apparently, it was shortlisted for the Samuel Johnson Prize, which I don't know what prize that is. I don't know if that's a nonfiction prize, maybe. And the person originally bought this in the UK, apparently. And it's because it only has the UK price, which is $8.99, which is in pounds instead of $8.99. I mean, instead of $8.99 in dollars, it's in pounds. Which I don't know. I'm gonna have to learn that. I'm gonna have to figure that out, how to do that, because we're gonna have to convert our money. Which I should look, because actually, I believe that the Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce has that page in it. A page in it where it lists what all the different money terms are in Europe or in England. So maybe we'll have the pound in here and how to do the math. And actually, I don't think it says the math. I think it just converts it for you. So I have to figure out how to do that math. I mean, I'm sure my dad will figure it out. When the time we do make that trip. So it's probably gonna be more like I feel like it's gonna be somewhere between The Decline and Fall and SPQR by I can't remember the author's name. That famous Mary Beard. I think it's gonna be between that one and then The Decline and Fall, with how much content is this. Where it's gonna cover, which I had heard the term Rubicon before. Because I think in one of the songs in 1776, in the final song, when John Adams is like, he's very frustrated about this situation because no one can, like, Jefferson has written the Declaration of Independence, no one can agree, everybody has offered all these criticisms on Jefferson's paper, and he's mad that Jefferson's not defending it, and it's been days, like, and in the song, he's expressing his frustration, and he talks about how he can see this beautiful future of America being free, the colonies being free and becoming America. And there's a lyric that says, let me think of how the song goes. Forgive me, I'm not a singer. Cannot sing. I cannot remember, what is how the lyrics. I would get up and get my phone, but I've already got up once, and I don't want to do it again. I see. They want me to quit. They say, John, give up the fight. Still to England I say, good night, forever good night. I have crossed the Rubicon. Let the bridge be burned behind me. Come what may, come what may. At least I don't sing. I can't sing. I didn't get that gene. My sister got that gene. But, I am more like my mom, and we're both tone deaf. So, see, yeah, that's the first place I heard Rubicon. I didn't know what it referred to. But I knew it was something in history. So, this is pictures. So, these are more recent pictures. But, yeah, so I figured this is another one I maybe should consider first and read this one. I love looking at these statues. These are so cool. I'd love to see them. Which they might be in one of the museums in England, in London. That'd be so great if I could see them. But, anyway, so figure I should consider doing this and reading this one, because it'll be a lot easier than reading the Rise and the Decline and Fall. Okay, so the last one is another. I couldn't decide between these. I have a bunch of first books in fantasy series that I bought over the last year, and I couldn't decide which one to start with. So one of them I think I'm going to save for September, And this one I couldn't decide between City of Dusk and this one. Oh, and then there's Senlin Ascends. That's another one. And so I just grabbed this one. I don't know. I might pick Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. But I remember from Brittany and the Books recommended reading this when I commented on her video about it, that I had it, but because she mentioned it in her video. This is Seven Blades in Black by Sam Sykes, and I think it's a trilogy. I think there are either it's 4 books or 3 books. And this is a woman that becomes an assassin after she gets betrayed. So I might start this one now or wait. I don't know yet. But, yeah, this might be consideration. As well. Like I said, I'm gonna go through all these books, and maybe tomorrow I'll make another video and show you the final result, the final choices. But even then, I don't know if I'll still be able to make a decision. Like I feel like I should separate the books that I probably should consider reading, and books that I really should consider priorities, that I should make priorities, and then books that I kind of want to read in the moment, but they're not necessarily priorities. As the books that I just all of a sudden decided, ooh, I want to read that one. Versus books that have been sitting there calling to me and saying, read me for one reason or another, and I haven't yet. Okay, so that is my tentative TBR, or at least books I'm thinking about for August. If you're already thinking about, I know July, as I'm filming this, July is not over yet, but I wanted to get that out there. Because I actually had a different idea for this video. I was going to do, like, something in front of my bookshelves, but then I could only show you, like, 2 shelves, and then I have another shelf, my third one, over, well, 2 more shelves, like I have 4 shelves now, after getting one for free earlier this year. So I can't film in front of those. And I don't know how to edit it so I can put them all together. So I wouldn't be able to do that. But I have thought about doing that, you know. But then I couldn't decide, and I'm gonna have to set it up and everything. And like I said, I'm kind of tired right now, so I just grabbed a bunch of books. So maybe I'll do that at some point just to get something different for you guys, a different kind of picking up the TBR, because I know, like, I've seen some people comment on people's videos who do that kind of thing, and they actually really like it. I don't know if you guys would, but like I said, I don't know if I'll do it. I don't know if I'll ever do it like that. It will depend. Like I said, I wish I knew how to edit videos like that, but anyway. I mean, maybe my dad will figure out, because that's another idea it was recommended to him for his own book. One of the ways he can market is because this site here, YouTube, is a great way to sell books. And he was told to make YouTube videos that, you know, talk about his book while also including some of his hobbies. So if he learns how to edit, maybe he can help me learn how to edit, you know, so I can do stuff like that. But anyway, so if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification if you want to be notified about my latest videos. I hope your July reading is going well. Like I said, if you have any books you're already thinking about reading for August, would love to know in the comments below. And I will talk to y'all later. All right, bye!